All right, folks, welcome back to yet another Wildlife for You webinar or online class. What we're doing today is we are going to continue with a bear safety series. This is part two of the bear safety series. Part one was all about bear encounters and different behaviors from the bear and how you're supposed to react. This particular class is going to be about bear spray basics. And so hopefully with the combination of the two classes, you're going to hike in bear country with more confidence because you'll know pretty much what to expect if you were to encounter a bear, and hopefully you'd know how to react. So with that, I'm going to get today's class started. And as we always do, we always let everyone know who the presenters are. I was fortunate to lasso Stephanie Payne into helping me with today's class. But most of you know I'm Daryl Radijak. I'm a wildlife biologist, career wildlife biologist. I've specialized in those big game, charismatic megafauna animals. Bears and cougars are my specialty. I love the carnivores and the predators, but I do deal with a lot of other animals as well. But I've been doing this for over 25 years. Absolutely love it. And I think a key aspect to what we do as wildlife biologists is teaching people about wildlife. So that's why I do this particular endeavor. So Stephanie, you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. So I'm Stephanie Payne. I have my bachelor's in wildlife biology and focusing on human wildlife dynamics from Oregon State University. I've been the coordinator of the Wildlife Human Attack Response Training, terrible acronym, it is WART, where we train federal, state, and provincial agencies on how to respond to either fatal or severe wildlife human instances. I've been doing that for 10, about 10-ish years now. Big time outdoors woman or outdoorsman. I prefer the non-PC version. And as Daryl has on here, backpacker for life. So
All right. Thanks for that, Steph, and thanks for joining us today. So, like I said, today's class is going to be about bear spray basics, but we've got to give some background information. So usually I start the classes about why the heck are we teaching this class? So today's going to be no different. Why are we teaching this class? Well, one of the key aspects I really want everyone to get from these classes, especially this bear series, is how to recreate safely in bear country. Now, everyone, we see bears, black bears, grizzlies, whatever it is, everyone loves bears. But if you're attending this class, you probably love wildlife. But we really, really do want you and need you to recreate safely in bear country, because when you don't, if things go wrong, I promise you, whether or not it's you or anyone else in the entire country and sometimes the entire world, when things go wrong, you're going to hear about it. And so I will tell you without a doubt, whenever there is any type of bear attack, whether or not it's a serious mauling or a fatality, it makes national news. And so we do not want anyone becoming a statistic or making the news because of you guys doing something wrong. And unfortunately, in a situation where there is an attack, it's both parties that lose. But the human party, the bear party, it's a lose-lose situation. So we don't want that to happen. And so if we can teach you to recreate safely, you hopefully won't become one of those statistics. But having said that, let's put this into perspective, because like I said, it makes national news, and I'm not really sure why. Now, one of the things I worked on over this last week, I used to have a similar slide in previous presentations, and I finally updated the information. And hopefully what this particular slide will do is give you an idea of what we're really talking about. How often do these attacks occur? And so what I'm going to show here is recorded human fatalities by predator species. And I'm going to go through a number of different species, because if you know how to use bear spray, believe it or not, it not only works on bears, but it works on a number of other large carnivore species. And so,
Daryl,
yep.
sorry, before you go into that, can you do me a favor? I can't remute everyone, and I think that a mute has come off. I'm getting some background noise.
Okay. All right. Is that better? I think I muted everyone, and Stephanie, you should be able to unmute.
Uh, yeah, I think, Nancy, I don't mean to call you out. I'm sorry. I think it's Nancy's line. You might have to open and,
I think I just muted her.
okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Yep. No, I got it. Oops. Sorry. Didn't mean to go backwards. So what I wanted to do is show everyone some statistics. I'm a biologist, so we deal with statistics every now and then. So what I did is I was just looking at some of these really negative interactions between these large predator type species. And so we're going to go back about 100 years in time, since the 1910s, and we're just going to look at these instances by decade. And so looking at polar bears, now understand that over the last 100 years, there undoubtedly are events that have probably gone unrecorded, especially in the Great White North, where you didn't have that many news facilities. But we're just talking like recorded events where there was a polar bear attack that went wrong. And over the last 100 years, there's 7 known events where a polar bear has killed a human in North America. And so let's next look at wolves. And if you track that through time, you see that orange line. And in total, over the last 100 years, only 8 known fatalities from gray wolves in North America. Now, if you see that little spike in 1920, it's funny because you could read all about this stuff, but 1920, there was a woman that was killed by a wolf, and they sent a party of 3 individuals to hunt down the wolf pack. And apparently the wolf pack hunted down those 3 individuals. So there's 4 fatalities from one event. But you can see wolves really don't account for many fatalities in North America. Then we get into one of my favorites, the big cats, the cougar, which is a Western species that can engage with humans. And you see over the last 100 years, we had 21 fatal cougar attacks in North America. The big spike was in the 1990s, where there was actually 6 instances of cougar fatalities, with most of them occurring in California, because California in the 1990s grew tremendously, and they thought it was a great idea to build houses in cougar habitat and put like running not tracks, but running trails through cougar country. And after a couple of fatalities because of joggers in California, they figured that wasn't the smartest of ideas. And you can see the fatalities have gone down, but 21 overall in the last 100 years. Then you get to this animal, which everyone loves, black bears. They appear cute and cuddly. Everyone thinks black bears are harmless. But here it is, folks. Bears are a serious predator if you have an encounter with them. Over the last 100 years, there's been 58 known fatalities from black bears. Now, almost every one of those is when the black bear has been acting in a predatory fashion. But you can see that's a marked jump from those other 3 species. But if you think black bears are a species to contend with, they don't hold a candle to the brown bear, or what many people know as the grizzly bear. And so over the last 100 years, we've had 75 known fatalities from brown bears. And so someone will say, well, brown bears are 75, black bears are 58. They're about equal, so they're equally as dangerous, don't you think? And that sounds correct, but it's not, because if you look at the overall population, black bears outnumber brown bears by about 10 to 1. And the fact that brown bears still have more of these negative interactions, you really, really need to know how to handle yourself when you're in especially grizzly country or brown bear country. No, Melissa, good question about the captive animals. I did not take those into account. I eliminated those. This is all wild animal attacks. So if you look at the total over the last 100 years, all these large predators, polar bears, wolves, mountain lions, black bears, and grizzlies, 169 fatalities over 100 years. That's less than 2 per year. So can anyone guess in the chat, what is the most dangerous animal in North America?
I'm not allowed to answer that, am I?
No, because I don't want you to answer it wrong. Oh, Melissa said bees. And so if you look at bees, there has been, remember 169 from all those big animals, there has been 1,500 fatalities since 2000 with bees. And so they're almost infinitely more dangerous than these other animals, but we really don't pay attention. But here's the thing, bees are number 2 when it comes to human fatalities in North America. The most dangerous animal in North America, very good, Melissa. It is the deer, white-tailed deer, well, white-tailed mule deer. Sadly, there's about 150 human fatalities per year because of obviously deer vehicle collisions. So deer, everyone loves them, but you are more likely to be killed by a deer than you are to be killed by a bear. So the moral of going through all of that is to let you know we're teaching bear spray basics and how to stay safe from bears and other large predators, but they shouldn't be your big worry. We want you to hike with confidence. We want you to know what to do. And so just understand that what you're learning here, just put it in perspective and enjoy your time in the outdoors and in the wild. And so what I wanted to show this picture because many people are terrified of bears. And the first image that comes to mind is when they think of a bear, they're going to encounter a bear like this. And believe it or not, this bear was not mad. This bear was trying to chew on a hickory nut, which is extremely hard, and he was having a heck of a time. Believe it or not, this is the same bear a few seconds later and from a slightly different angle. So if I go back again, he's trying to crack a nut. But bears are not these big, scary animals. But because of them being bears and being large carnivores with sharp teeth and claws and extremely powerful, we do need to respect them, because if you don't, you can find yourself in a bad situation. So the stuff we're trying to teach you tonight is how to prevent that situation from really turning bad. And so what I want to do again is reiterate how you stay safe in bear country. And so can anyone guess what is the number 1 tool you can carry when you're in bear country? I'm going to wait until someone, gosh darn it, Trish, you weren't supposed to say that. Because I was waiting for someone to say bear spray, because that's what this class is all about. The problem is bear spray is not the number 1 tool that you carry. And yes, Trish, you are one of my star students, or my star student, because your brain is actually the most important thing you carry with you when you are in bear country. Now, you all have been through many of my classes, especially in language of bears and different bear behavior classes. We teach you about what bears are going to do. But your brain pretty much tells you what you should do in case of a bear encounter. And so that brain is the most important thing. And whenever you recreate in bear country, you have to have a very high amount of situational awareness. You have to know what's going on around you, because that is truly what is going to keep you safe. Now, there are some very, very basic things when it comes to being in bear country. First and foremost, follow the safety guidelines, whether or not it's the National Park Service, Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management. A lot of times they have safety guidelines for you to follow when you're in bear country. Obviously, one of the biggest ones, especially if you're camping overnight in the backcountry, you want to hang your food away from your camp so you don't attract bears. Many people know that, but not everyone goes backcountry camping. So not a lot of people will practice this because they're usually in the front country in a developed campground. But when you are in bear country, follow the safety guidelines. But keep in mind, things can change, not so much in an instant, but from day to day. And the government agencies in charge of these wonderful wilderness areas will let you know what is going on in areas. And so if you come upon a sign that has a warning about grizzlies in the area because they're feeding on moose calves, you better make sure your spider senses are on high alert, because you don't want to run into a grizzly feeding on a carcass. Now, I imagine not many people on this call have moose and grizzly in their backyard, but there are black bears in most every inch, not every inch, but most wild areas across the country. And so again, the Forest Service, National Park Service, if there's any situation where bears are active and they're not behaving properly because they're acting defensive, whether or not it's a food source or a mother with cubs, you just have to listen to the safety guidelines that those folks put out there. So first and foremost, your brain will tell you to follow the safety guidelines. But there's other things that you might not get the warning for. And so if you are camping and you are pitching a tent somewhere, the one thing you have to be very mindful of is, where are you pitching that tent? And so if many of you have watched videos of grizzlies feeding on the salmon runs, you don't want to be pitching a tent along a stream where the salmon are spawning upstream, because you're putting yourself in direct contact with a bear. And so what you want to do when you're placing your tent, you want to make sure you're not going to put it in an area where a bear is likely to stumble upon you, whether or not it's in an area where they feed or in heavy cover. So just make sure, if you are camping in the backcountry, make sure you set up a camp that's in a good high visible area so bears and other predators can steer clear of you, because they don't want to run into you. Another thing that you can do, especially when you're hiking, you might not be camping, but you might be hiking. What do these two pictures depict that could be an issue when you're in bear country? Again, I'm going to wait until someone types something in. Very good. Blind spots and cover and low visibility. And so if you're walking in an area like this where you have thick vegetation or sheer canyon walls where you can't see what's in front of you more than 10 feet, this is where hopefully you will be hiking with other individuals and you can be talking, you can be making noise, because this is a prime situation where you can surprise a bear at close range. And you don't want to do that, especially if it's a mother with cubs. And so that situational awareness, say, hey, this is getting pretty thick, I've got low visibility, I better sing my favorite song, I better start talking, I better start whistling, I better start making some noise so I don't surprise a bear. Again, that is your brain that's keeping you safe. Another thing you have to do, and this is probably one of the most important things, is you have to understand that there are things out there that could attract bears or other predators to you. I'll focus on bears today, but obviously everyone knows garbage is a big attractant for bears, but not many people go camping by a dumpster, so you don't usually have to worry about the garbage aspect as far as the dumpster aspect. But keeping a clean camp is absolutely critical, because if you have anything within your campsite that smells enticing to a bear, you're just asking for an encounter where a bear is drawn into your campsite. So be wary of the attractants. Obviously, you're going to be, if you're in the backcountry, if you're staying for a day or two, you're going to have food with you. And so those food smells that you put up when you are cooking your meal, you want to make sure you keep those well away from where you're going to be sleeping. Again, these are very common sense things, because everyone knows that hot dogs and fish and any aromatic food you eat is likely a potential attractant for a bear. But what many people realize is there's other attractants. They might do everything right, where they cook the food away from camp, they hang the food in a good spot, and then they get ready for bed and they brush their teeth with some minty type of toothpaste and they store it in their tent. Another thing is, a lot of people will use chapstick, cherry flavored chapstick or strawberry flavored chapstick. And you just have to understand, you have to use your brain, that anything that smells good to you is going to smell absolutely great to a bear. So here's the thing. You've done everything right. Your brain has been your best friend. You've recognized the things you need to stay away from. But here's the thing, folks. Sometimes things just happen and you have no explanation for it. In fact, Stephanie, what was the gentleman who taught the bear attack from Wyoming, Mark Bruschino?
Yes.
Mark was talking to Stephanie and I a number of years ago, and he was teaching some really serious classes about having these serious bear encounters. And he said the hardest thing is a lot of people will try to nitpick and try to find out what the person has done wrong. And he was like, sometimes there's nothing they did wrong. They were just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So you could have a situation where the wind was not in your favor. So the bear never smelled you or never heard you approach. And you just, like I said, you did everything right, but bad things can sometimes happen. And there's nobody at fault there. So after your brain has done everything right, but things still go wrong, you might need something to back you up. And that is what is going to get us into the heart of this class. So if you're in bear country, and again, you do everything right, but the situation kind of unfolds that it's nobody's fault, and you have an encounter, a serious or a close encounter with a bear, whether or not it's a black bear or a brown bear, which tool do you use? You need something really, really reliable. And probably the most reliable tool that you have is you got to hike with someone who can't run faster than you. So no, you don't want to do that. It works, but that's not fair for that gentleman. So the tool, excuse me, I feel like I got to sneeze, but it's not coming out. The tool that you want to use is bear spray. Now, how many people here have been either in a crowd or talking to people, and someone, especially, I hate to say it because I rarely ever get on social media. How many people say, well, I'm not going to carry bear spray, I'm going to carry my Colt 45. And so these are two options. I'm not putting the guns down because a lot of people will carry the gun for safety purposes. But what I want to do is do a little comparison between bear spray and this gun. So let's do some pros and cons here. Now, say you're on the trail and this guy comes charging at you. And I hate that I use this picture because this brown bear looks too cute. He does not look too mad, but this would be a serious situation if you see this guy barreling down at you. And so there's some pros and cons with both tools, the bear spray and the gun. The first thing is the bear spray, if it is deployed, is pretty much a non-lethal tool, whereas the gun, if deployed, may be very lethal to the bear. Now, obviously, if it's a serious situation with a grizzly and it is bent on attacking you, a lethal option is not that bad of an option. But sometimes, in fact, probably more times than not, it's not immediately lethal. And so there are pros and cons with the tool being lethal or non-lethal. Here's another thing, and this is why I'm going to talk about bear spray and keep saying bear spray is a good option. There are many situations where a human encounters, say, a female grizzly with cubs, and her immediate response is to eliminate the threat to her cubs. And there have been many maulings, many attacks, sometimes even fatal attacks, where if the human was found to have surprised the grizzly, oftentimes there are some states, Montana especially, they may rule that the mother bear was not at fault, and they may not do anything to that female bear. And so the fact that you use bear spray, non-lethal, means that you spray that bear and that bear has a chance to learn not to go after humans. However, if you use a gun and it is a lethal shot, that bear has absolutely no opportunity whatsoever to learn because it's no longer around. So there's pros and cons that being lethal versus non-lethal. Now, here is the big reason, and this is what I try to explain to people all the time. You have two tools. One is bear spray, one is a gun. How is your aim? So when you aim with bear spray, you're going to be firing a projectile at that bear, and your projectile looks like that. Now, if you have a gun and a bear charges, you also will be firing a projectile, and your projectile will look like that. Can you see what that is? I'll point to it. That little dot there represents about the size of a bullet. And someone undoubtedly will say, well, I'm not just going to fire once, I'm going to empty my 6-shooter on it. And so they might do that. And so here is the overall the overall coverage. You have the cloud on the left, which is the bear spray, and you have those 6 little dots, which are bullets. Not all those bullets are going to be able to stop the bear. If you get lucky, it might. But if you had to gamble which you are more accurate, which you have a better chance of hitting the bear in a location that will stop it, it's probably best to use that bear spray. I'm just checking, making sure everyone's still on mute.
No, Daryl, it's probably Bandit.
Oh, the mouth breather.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's what I hear. Okay, so again, if you're looking at the two options between using bear spray and a gun, remember what you're throwing at the bear is vastly different. And again, inevitably someone's going to say, but those are bullets, man, not some wimpy pepper spray. Believe it or not, there has been numerous studies, and it's mostly in agreement. There might be a study here or there that might say things a little bit different, but some of the two most highly respected bear attack experts, Tom Smith and Stephen Herrero, they analyzed just hundreds and hundreds of human bear conflicts in Alaska. And what they found is you are so much more likely to be injured when you're trying to defend yourself with a gun. It says 56% of the people who tried using a gun ended up getting injured, where only 2% of the people who deployed bear spray got injured. And one of the big reasons for there, and I don't believe I showed the video during the last class, but oftentimes if you shoot a bear with a gun, it's not going to stop. In fact, it rarely ever stops. It keeps coming. Whereas bear spray usually stops that animal in its tracks. And I know people will argue and they'll stand by what they believe is a better instrument. But I will tell you, in most situations, the bear spray has a much better effect on stopping a charging bear than a gun does. All right, so what I'm going to do is talk to you a little bit about these bear spray basics. And I think the very first thing I want everyone to do is don't ever call it pepper spray, because it's not just pepper spray. And so let's look at the differences between the two, because there are things that you can go to the store and you can buy pepper spray, or you can go to the store and you can buy bear spray. So first and foremost, the big difference is if you go to the store and you find a $5 bottle of spray, it's most likely pepper spray, because bear spray is not cheap. I probably should have put another $sign by the bear spray, because oftentimes you're going to pay anywhere from $40 to $60 for a can of bear spray. And sometimes you can pick up a can of pepper spray for $5 or $10. Two very, very different products. One of the big differences and most important differences is when you're talking about pepper spray, which is, just so you know, it's used in self-defense. So if people are carrying pepper spray to fend off other people, that's usually what they use. And that pepper spray that you can buy in the store or online, it usually sprays about up to 10 feet. 12 feet if you're lucky, but usually about up to 10 feet is the distance that that pepper spray is going to spray. A huge difference is the bear spray. They're specifically designed to spray longer distances. The bigger can is filled mostly with propellant to get that chemical out there at a much greater distance, because you definitely want to be hitting a bear before it gets too close to you. Now, when you look at the active ingredients in the two, you look, the ingredient that causes the stress in the animal that receives the dose is a chemical called capsaicin, made from hot peppers, pretty much. And the active ingredient in most pepper sprays is roughly about 1.3%. And then if you look at the bear spray, it can go up to about 2%. Now, I will tell you, I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. So I was researching a lot of this, and I reached out to Stephanie to explain to me, because some people will say bear spray is more potent. Other people will say pepper spray is more potent. Stephanie, can you, in your quick research from today, can you tell us kind of what you found out?
Yeah, so capsaicin is actually found in both, like Daryl says here, but it's not necessarily, there's different types of capsaicin, and the one that's specific to both of these, the active ingredient is, and I'm going to mess this word up.
Oh, with the O?
Yeah, it's oleoresin capsaicin, I think. That's going from memory, so don't quote me on that. But it's primarily the percentage. So when they say this one's got this type of capsaicin, or this one's, this other type, the big thing is that they're generally going to be a mixture of different types of they all come from peppers. The capsaicin comes from peppers, period. But it can be a mix from different peppers, and the percentage is really what you're looking for of overall capsaicin percentage in there.
So I think the moral of the story now, is it true that the bear spray is a bit more powerful?
For multiple reasons. They both, like you said a minute ago, these both work well on animals. Humans obviously are an animal. So the dog capsaicin spray, or the dog pepper spray, is a lesser percentage. The human pepper spray is, you can get it in three different, I guess you could say, irritant levels. You can get a level 1, a level 2, or a level 3. The level 3, which Daryl has here, is between 1.3 and like a 2% is about the max you can get. And the bear sprays, you can actually get them up to about a 3%. So the bear spray, not only is it, number one, it can spray further, like Daryl just mentioned a second ago. And Daryl, I'm sorry if I steal some thunder in a second, but it also, obviously it's a larger can with a higher propellant, meaning that it's designed to spray more stuff for a longer period of time as well. So yeah, bear spray all around is a more potent thing.
Yeah, and I think the key here is just make sure, if you're going hiking in bear country, make sure you buy bear spray and not just pepper spray. And here's some more differences between the two. Typically, when you buy pepper spray in the store for self-defense, it is going to spray pretty much in a stream. Sometimes it spreads out a little bit, but most of the time it's more like a liquid stream that comes out. The bear spray, however, when you spray that, it comes out mostly in a fog. It's going to create a cloud. And so after going through that whole slide showing you the differences between the two, there's a very, very simple, wonderful graphic that should explain everything. So you take these two canisters, and if you start with that pepper spray on the left, and an attacker, a would-be something, is coming at you, and you spray it, that's what you're going to get. It's mostly going to be a stream, might reach out to be about 10 feet or so. It's effective if you hit the attacker where you want to hit it. But if you have a bear coming at you, instead of shooting that little stream, this is what you're going to get with the bear spray. So it is much, much different. It is going to create this big cloud that is very effective at stopping a bear. So you want to make sure that when you are hiking in bear country, that you're carrying bear spray with you. So let me talk quickly about how bear spray works. And so don't want anyone to read this. I just threw it up to kind of attract your attention, but everyone knows when you have hot peppers, that capsaicin, however you want to pronounce it, it is an irritant. If you've ever handled hot peppers or you had hot sauce or Tabasco sauce and you accidentally rub your eye, you know what that does to your eye. You can feel the burning, your eye starts watering. And so the key thing is that ingredient is it's a tremendous irritant, especially when it's on mucus type of membrane. So wet membranes, whether or not it's your eye, your nose, your mouth. And when it hits those, it absorbs into that bloodstream really quickly and it irritates the snot out of you. So you're going to have burning eyes. It'll be hard to breathe. You're just going to forget everything that you were originally thinking, because once you get this irritant in you or on you, all you're worried about is getting out of there and getting that irritant away from you. And it's hard to do. So that's how bear spray works. But why does bear spray work? And so, or pepper spray, either one, this irritant, you have to understand, in the human body, we have our nose and throat. And when you spray, whether or not it's pepper spray or bear spray, and it gets in there, it gets in your nasal cavity. This is what humans have within their sinuses. These are olfactory receptors. These are smell receptors. And you can see the humans have a fair amount of them. And here's the thing. All right, put it bluntly, we got a crappy sense of smell. And you get pepper spray or bear spray in you, and your reaction is this. You just literally break down, and again, you forget everything. Your eyes start watering, you can't breathe. And just so you know, folks, this is the good picture, because there was other pictures where the mucus was flowing, and it's not a pretty sight. And here's the thing. We have terrible sense of smell in the mammal world. Now, when you're dealing with a bear, they're designed morphologically, anatomically much different than humans. And so their nose is not this wimpy nose. If you look at that skull and all that nasal cavity that has places for olfactory receptors, and if you look at the cross section here, it's a kind of technical slide, but that whole nasal cavity is loaded with olfactory receptors, 2,000 times more powerful than a human nose. And so if pepper spray or bear spray does that to a human, you have a bear's nose, which is so much more, like thousands of times more sensitive. It is absolutely going to short circuit them. So you have a black bear or a brown, I could have put a grizzly nose up here. They're these powerful, probably most powerful nose in the entire mammal world. And so you get some of that chemical in that nasal passage. I promise you, folks, that bear, it's going to short circuit its brain, because if you think we react bad to it, their nose is their life. And so once you short circuit and hurt that nose, they're stopping, they're forgetting everything, and they're just trying to get out of Dodge. And so that is why bear spray works. And again, I've heard countless people talk about how much better a gun is. They just don't understand the biology of bears with their sense of smell and the fact that this bear spray can short circuit it. And again, countless studies show that the effectiveness as bear spray is pretty much unquestionable. So many studies show that over 90% of attacks are stopped just by using that bear spray. Okay, so what kind of brand do we recommend? Here it is. I don't recommend any. I'm not getting any sponsorship from any of them. Again, the key here is to make sure that what you buy is classified as bear spray, because besides having the different concentration of the capsaicin, it also has the propellant that gets that chemical a much further distance. So make sure you buy a reputable bear spray, whether some of the more popular brands, again, I'm not endorsing one over the other, but Counter Assault is a big one. UDAP is another big one. But there's other brands out there. Just make sure whatever you're getting is bear spray and not simply just a pepper spray. You can say that out loud, Stephanie.
Okay, so I do recommend make sure that you're getting a responsible, but also a real product. So only buy bear spray that's registered by the EPA and the Environmental Protection Agency. And they generally, you'll find a EPA registration right on the label. So.
Okay, so what do you do? This is probably the heart of the class, because what do you do if you're out there on the trail and you have this encounter where you have to use bear spray? And so what technique do you use? Well, before you can employ any technique of deploying the bear spray, the thing is, again, that's situational awareness. You got to be ready. So your brain should be telling you, you know what, I smell a rotting carcass around here. Maybe I should pull out my bear spray just because I have that sixth sense that's telling me something's up. Or maybe you spotted a female bear with her cubs and you lost sight of her. You don't know where she is. Or maybe you're in one of those areas where you don't have much visibility. There's nothing wrong with having your bear spray in your hand at the ready, because things are going to happen fast. And Stephanie and I both have stories about how fast things can happen. So let's go through this. So you're in bear country. You find yourself in a situation where you're a little uncomfortable because you know a bear might be around. There's a chance a bear encounter is inevitable. And so what you want to do, you want to be at the ready. So have your bear spray out in case the bear comes at you. So in the rare event that a bear comes at you, what you want to do is you want to deploy the bear spray so it hits at the ground right in front of them, because what's going to happen, it's going to form a cloud. And so you don't want to aim directly at the bear's face, because if you just aim a little bit high, you could go right over the bear. You want that cloud to form immediately in front of the bear. So again, kind of aim right at the base of the bear as it's coming at you. And so what you're going to do is you're going to create that cloud. So I'm looking at the chat. Stephanie, if there's anything.
Or the chat, I've got the chat. You just.
Okay, I was just going to say, let me know if I've got to answer anything, because I see things scrolling. So bears coming at you, you deploy that spray. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you almost real time. I'm going to pause it. But if you're ready and a bear comes at you, this is going to be the sequence. The bear's running. You create that cloud that the bear is going to run into. And as soon as that hits, again, that chemical is going to get on his nose. It's going to short circuit their brain. They forget all about what they're wanting to do because they're hurting right now. Their nose is extremely sensitive. Their eyes, they can't see, they can't breathe. It's stinging them. And all they typically want to do is get away from there. Now, inevitably, someone's going to say, well, there's been attacks where the bear spray didn't do anything to that bear. Yes, that has happened. I don't know what or why that is. You've seen some people that display superhuman strength when they're so amped up that the chemicals don't affect them. But folks, that is rare. We're talking single percentage points here. So if I'm going to bet my life on stopping a bear, I want something that's that high 90% is going to stop that bear. I will take the chance that it doesn't work by having a more effective tool on me. Now, I will tell you, again, I'll back this up. So the bear comes in, you spray it, bear hits the spray, bear leaves. You'll probably stop spraying, and the next thing you're going to do, you're probably going to pee your pants because you were just charged by a bear and you fended it off. So completely natural reaction. Don't worry about that. Be happy you survived a bear attack. But in all seriousness, folks, the thing you want to do if this event were to occur and you have to deploy your bear spray and you hit the bear and the bear leaves the area or stops and is just preoccupied with trying to get the spray off of them, you've got to get yourself out of that area. You don't want to panic and run. You just want to quickly and calmly leave that area and get away from that bear. So there are things to note when it comes to using bear spray. And I'll show a video in a little bit, but key points here. You cannot use your bear spray if you can't get at your bear spray. So you have to keep it within reach. This means keeping it kind of like whenever you are bracing for something intense to happen to you, whether or not you're going to get hit or attacked, usually your arms or your hands reach for your waist or for your chest. Just your hands instinctively go inwards like that. They don't instinctively reach around to the back of your pack and unhook a clasp. And so carrying your bear spray, it's really important to have it like in a holster on your hip or on your chest, somewhere where you can easily reach it, because a lot of times these events happen real quickly and you got to get to it as quick as you can. So the best thing is making sure that bear spray is accessible.
Can I add in a bit there?
Absolutely.
So not only do you need to keep it within reach, always carry it in the exact same place every single time that you're out. So don't switch it from the right side to the left side, from the chest to the waist and back again, because when you need it, and it goes what Daryl has here with practice, you do the same thing even with your safety cans, your inert sprays. Keep it in the same place, because when that moment hits, your brain stops functioning and your muscles kick in automatically, because your brain is just thinking, uh-oh, and your body has to react all on its own. So if you move it around and it's not consistently in one spot, you may go reaching for the spot that, you would most likely expect it to be, and you may have moved it to the other side, to your chest, to one of the shoulder straps that's in the front. So just always carry it in the exact same place, because muscle memory is a must.
Can I tattle on us?
Sure.
The practice. And folks, I'm telling you this not only from years and years of researching this and talking to lots of other people, but personal experience. And the reason I asked Stephanie is we were doing some work up in Cherokee National Forest, and we both had a firearm on us, and we were charged by a bear. And I had a shotgun with me. And as this bear just out of the blue was coming right at us, Stephanie, do you remember the very first thing I did?
The very first thing that Daryl did was eject his live round that he had already chambered without firing it.
Yeah. And so what that means is I
he cocked his gun. Yeah, he cocked his gun because he didn't realize he had already cocked it. So the bullet that had not been the cartridge that had not been expelled went flying out completely good. Had never been fired before.
So I was one bullet down out of 3.
Yeah.
I lost one of my bullets because right away, just my instinct, it just kicked in, and I ejected one of the rounds of ammunition I had. The next 2 missed completely. Thankfully, it was enough to scare the bear off off its path. But your body, we can tell you what you're supposed to do, but like Stephanie said, practice, because the way your body reacts, it's going to be muscle memory. And if you don't practice, you don't know how your body's going to react. And I've got that perfect example where I thought I knew, but I never practiced, and my body reacted differently than my brain. So one of the good things when it comes to bear spray is there's lots of videos out there, and we got to make sure you look at the right videos, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But you can also buy these inert cans. They're the real thing as far as the size and the functionality, but they don't have the chemical irritant in them. And so you can spray them In practice, if you accidentally spray yourself, you're not spraying yourself with any chemical. And so those things are fantastic. I took a 3-day bear safety class, bear spray safety class, that we were practicing with those inert cans, and we were using stuffed animals charging at us. It was kind of fun, actually. But the more you practice, the more you will react in the appropriate way. Again, maintain that situational awareness. If you know you're getting into a sketchy area where there could be a situation, make sure you're ready for it. Now, here's the big thing. If the bear charges, if a bear suddenly appears, or you see the bear and it's been coming at you and it's getting ready to really come at you, if that bear charges, again, you want to spray in front of that bear and create that cloud. You want to create a wall of that chemical spray for that bear to run into. One of the things I hear all the time from people that are like anti-bear spray is, oh, you gotta see what the wind direction is. That is bull crap. You don't overthink anything. You don't say, the wind is coming from the northwest, I better spray 60 degrees to the southeast. No, none of that takes place. In fact, research in today's class, there was a study conducted about the efficacy of bear spray even in wind conditions. And although it will still get to where it's going, it might vary a little bit, but in the event of a bear charge, you don't even let the wind come into play. You just spray where you need to spray. And most likely, unless you're in hurricane force winds, the spray is still going to hit the bear. You might get some on you, but it's still going to hit the bear. So don't overthink things. And again, there was a study on that. Again, once you spray the bear, make sure that bear has left or is no longer a threat. Usually if you get a good blast of spray on him, he is going to leave the area. He's just wanting the hurt to stop. And so it's a really good thing. Just make sure that you no longer have that threat in the area. And again, once that all takes place, it's going to take a second for you to regain your composure, but leave the area immediately and seek safety. So find someone else, get to a safe area, report the incident to whoever is in charge of that area, whether or not it's local law enforcement or National Park Service. But it's a situation we train people for, and we hope you never, ever have to use it. But if you do, at least with this class or some of the videos you can watch, you can at least learn what you're supposed to do. So,
okay.
Any questions on bear spray?
Well, before we start with the questions, there's a few things that I think that I would like to add. So one of the things is you need to remember that bear spray is not a preventative measure. You do not spray it around a campsite or anything like that prior to needing to use it on a bear. It doesn't work that way. It is definitely airborne for the efficacy. The bear has to be able to breathe it in that large cloud. And spraying peppers around your camp is not going to be a bear deterrent. And another thing is make sure you pay attention when you're buying a bear spray can that you look for the expiration date. These do have a good date. I don't know how long after the label date they are still worthwhile, but I would think that the propellants at bare minimum would probably begin to let you down. And again, when you're in, is it like an $85 can of spray that you're like, oh, I hate to spend $85 on this? Sure. But when you need it, and you don't want to let frugality be the reason why you suddenly
Lost an
don't
arm.
have an effective measure, against a bear. And then additionally, keep in mind, even though we call it bear spray, this isn't just for use on bears. It will work on other wildlife as well. It's effective against all mammals that are still breathing, obviously. So if for some reason you had a cougar, coyote, a wolf, something along those lines, it would work just as well on those. So while it's effective against bears, and bears are the primary reason for its original inception, it's definitely not just for bears. And then I think the last thing, and Jane asked this in the chat, and I did address it in the chat, but no, you cannot fly with bear spray. You can't fly with it in your check bag either, so don't try. They will take it from you. So yes, when you go to bear country, if you fly in to visit, you will have to buy a can of bear spray that you will not be able to take with you. So definitely keep that in mind. And then the last thing that I think I want to add is actually on the very beginning when we were talking about different things that you can use, like situational awareness and, keeping the trash and things like that away from your campsite. If you're out in a really heavy bear country and you're camping, and, I don't even want to say backcountry camping, but if you're camping in a tent, for example, and it's, Alaska, BC, somewhere where it's a really bear heavy area, there is a lot of research now that's showing that the portable electric fences can actually work as great deterrents as well around your tent site. So that's all I wanted to add, sir.
Excellent additions. Thank you for all that. But yeah, I really like the point of it working on more than just bears, because there's actually videos, and a number of folks that work with cougars can attest that it is usually pretty effective on cougars, and I imagine wolves, just like Stephanie said, any mammal that breathes, which is everything. It's not going to like getting hit with a can of bear spray. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you a video demonstration, but before I switch out of here and go to that video, I will tell you, I've had a number of people that say, well, why should I take your class? Because I can just Google videos and I can learn how to use bear spray. And so I got on Google a week or two ago and was just looking up some bear safety videos. And folks, there's some great videos. I'll show you one of them, maybe two. But folks, there's some really, really bad videos. There was a gentleman who was a self-proclaimed wildlife expert hiking the Appalachian Trail, and he was talking about bear spray. And he said, if you see a bear up in the trail, you just turn around and walk away. And as you're walking away, you spray the bear spray on the trail, because that will keep him from coming to the trail. And that is horrible, horrible advice, because even Stephanie mentioned it. It is not a repellent. It is not like insect spray that you spray it on you and it keeps the animals away. Bear spray is meant to stop a charging animal. If you use bear spray, if you set up camp and you think it acts as a repellent and you spray bear spray on your tent, the thing is, after it dries, guess what? It can become an attractant, because it will smell like peppers. And so there's some really, really bad information that you could get off the internet. Having said that, there's some really good information. So what I will tell you, look up some bear spray videos if you want, but if you do, make sure that the videos that you play are going to come from like a state wildlife agency or one of the more reputable conservation organizations. Don't take advice from, and Stephanie, I wish I could remember we always talk about getting advice from so-and-so on the internet. You just got to be careful, because like I said,
talking about Jordan's outdoor blog?
Yes. We just made something up on the podcast about listening to Jordan and his outdoor knowledge or blog. And there's some bad information out there. So make sure you definitely get reputable videos. So let me switch over. This is just a 4-minute video. It's going to be him talking, but he's going to reiterate. This is a gentleman from Montana. Montana knows their stuff when it comes to bear country, because they have black bears and grizzlies. So I will play this. Just sit
Daryl,
back. Yep.
I'm leaving you.
Okay. Thank you for
You're
everything.
welcome. Bye.
Okay. So just sit back and listen, and he's going to say a lot of the same things I said. Again, this gentleman is from Montana who deals with bears on a daily basis. So again, only 4 minutes, but enjoy.
My name is Bill, and I'm a volunteer here at Montana Wild in Helena. I'd like to talk to you about the basics of using bear spray. First and foremost, it's important to keep bear spray where you can get to it very easily. Often, we see people carrying bear spray on the pocket of their backpack. Bad idea, because when you get into an emergency situation, your hand does not normally go back like that. In an emergency, we naturally put our hands on our hips or on our chest. So that's where we want to keep the bear spray. Often, bear spray comes in a holster that has a belt loop, so we can carry it on our clothing belt or on the waist belt of our backpack. When I go fishing, I use a harness so that I carry my bear spray on my chest, just above the top of my waders. But some people, hikers and some trail runners, they'll carry their bear spray in their hand. One way or another, we've got to make sure that our bear spray is somewhere where we can get to it right away. Now, regardless of the manufacturer, the bear spray bottles all are pretty much the same. There's a loop that you put your finger through, and then there's a safety on the top. To remove the safety, you put your thumb in front of the safety and you pull back. That exposes the lever that you push down that makes the spray come out. Now, in terms of how we use bear spray, we create a cloud between ourselves and the charging bear. We have to do that early enough because the bear's coming very fast. So we imagine the length of a school bus. Everybody knows how long a school bus is. As soon as the bear is within a school bus length, we're creating our cloud. And these bottles, depending upon the size, are going to have anywhere from about 5 to 8 seconds of spray available. But we're probably not going to empty the entire bottle at once. We're probably going to do 2 to 3 seconds per spray. And again, we're creating a cloud between ourselves and the bear. At the end of this presentation, we're going to go outside and I'll show you what it's like to actually use bear spray. So first I want to share with you some insider tips. When you buy a fresh bottle of bear spray, often the safety is pretty tight. It doesn't come off very easily. So what you might want to do is remove it carefully and then put your thumb in the gap and loosen it up just a little bit, enough that it comes off without a problem. Also, with most bear spray, there's some kind of a lanyard that connects the safety to the can. You might want to detach that or clip it because we don't want any risk of that hanging up as we try to take it off. And finally, keep in mind that bear spray does have a shelf life. The shelf life varies depending upon the manufacturer. It's always printed on the can, but the printing can wear off over time. So you might want to take a Sharpie pen and write the date on the can. Okay, so let's go outside and practice. Okay, now to demonstrate how to actually use bear spray. As a review, I'm going to put my finger through the loop, my thumb in front of the safety, going to pull the safety off and then deploy. I'm also going to aim down just a little bit because bears come at us at all four. We want to make sure that we don't do the spray over their head. So here goes. Okay, that's all there is to it. Remember, bear spray saves lives. And I really look forward to seeing you on the trail someday.
All right. I will show you one more video, and it's just going to be a demonstration of how effective it is. It's going to be a really quick video, but this is a bear that was getting too close for comfort. All right, now let me go back to my presentation. Okay, so again, I strongly encourage everyone, if you want to learn more, read more, watch more videos about bear spray, there's a number of really good ones. Again, make sure that the information is coming from a reputable source, whether or not it is a state wildlife agency or one of the more notable conservation organizations. Don't just take someone's word for it because they're on the internet, because anyone can be on the internet, even folks like me. So to wrap things up, folks, again, bears are awesome. We want you to love bears, enjoy bears, have fun. I love having encounters with bears, but you got to give them respect. And so the greatest tool that's going to keep you safe when you are in bear country is your brain. However, if you don't have a brain for the day, something goes wrong, or everything goes right and your brain just something happens, the next best thing is to carry bear spray and to know how to use it. So with that, I'm going to thank you for sitting through yet another hour of me rambling on. Photo credits, obviously got to give big shout out to Bob Howdershell. He's my right-hand man. Mark your calendars. We got another class coming at you in 2 weeks. We're switching gears. We're getting off bears. And we're going to be doing another 2-part series. It's going to be a routine with the 2-part series, but we're going to be talking about big cats. And so on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2 weeks from today, we're going to be talking about cougar country and understanding and reacting to cougars. So talk about bear country a lot. Now we're going to be talking about cougar country. So with that, do you guys have any questions about anything you learned today? And I appreciate Stephanie for keeping tabs on the chat box, but now I could follow along if you have any more questions. Oh, the cartoon. There you go. I showed this one a lot. I got to change up I got to get more bear cartoons. So anyway, folks, you have been awesome. And I so appreciate you sticking with us and learning more. Tell your friends and family. And I hope to see you in a couple of weeks. And if you have any other questions that pop up in the middle of the night, by all means, email them to me or shoot me an instant message. So, all right, with that, I will end it with my final slide and I will stop the recording and I will bid everyone a good night. And thank you once again for joining in on this presentation.